for keeping you waiting. If you were waiting, my name is Aldo Gandia. This is Dan Aguirre. We just came back from watching the Chicago Bears game, having a sensational dinner,
Yeah.
meeting Detroit Lions fans
And a Viking fan.
and a Vikings fan, other Bears fans, and talking about the day. And this, to me personally, is a historic.
Cornelius is going to be following us now.
That's right. Cornelius, who works here at the hotel, we got a chance to talk to him and he shared his thoughts. It's video that I will share with you on Tuesday on the new Bear Their Souls show. But we've had a tremendous day. So Dan and I, in an impromptu session, decided to come on live and talk about our experiences today and talk about how we feel the Chicago Bears ended their 2022 season, because I think, not speaking for Dan here, but I think we are both very disappointed at what transpired. While we're happy that we got the number one overall draft pick, number one, we are not happy at the way the Bears achieved that goal. Is that fair to say, Dan?
Yes. Again, I've said it a couple of times now. I told you live. I was like, do you think they're going to kneel down? And you were like, oh no. I was like, I think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did. And that just seems so. Surrender. That's like, the white flag, if there's ever been a white flag.
Right.
And as we talked about during the game, at least, we're not trying to be conspiracy theorists here, but in the stadium, when they showed that Houston had taken the lead initially, they immediately yanked Peterman and put in this other scrub. What was his name? Boyle?
Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle. Whoever the fuck that is. They put him in, and then he subsequently, of course, throws one of the worst interceptions anyone's ever seen. Cutler, who I love, threw some bad ones.
Yes.
Some bad ones. Where are you throwing the ball? Never that bad. That
Right.
was Neil O'Donnell in the Super Bowl for the Steelers, if you remember, Super Bowl 30.
Indeed.
So the Bears disappointed us, man. You start out 2-1, you finish the year 3-14 with a 10-game losing streak, and that's 13 out of 14 losses too.
Unbelievable. And I first of all, I want to apologize to anyone who is writing things on the chat. We don't have access to that. This is an impromptu session. Dan and I were going to make love on this bed here. And
They did call us gay in Cleveland.
That's right. They called us gay in Cleveland, and I think there was a couple that called us cute today at Soldier Field. But maybe I'm exaggerating. But so I apologize that we can't respond to any comments in the chat. And I also want to thank all of the Barflies followers who have sent us messages since last night when we did our final Dan and Aldo Bear Their Soul show, and offered us tickets, offered us drinks, offered us sex. No, the sex.
That was Heidi. And yes, Heidi, I'm taking it. She did say she would get us all kinds of feet pics.
Oh, yes.
So she
Right.
said, seriously, if you can make money on that to help her trip to Chicago, do it.
That's right. And just a little context there, Heidi Zimmerman, who is one of the co-hosts of the Bears Girls podcast, and somebody that we love, Nazli Briones and Alma. I forgot Alma's last name, but they're the three co-hosts of that. They have been planning a trip to Chicago, but they need to sell pictures of their feet from degenerates like Dan and myself.
I've already bought some.
So, but more on that on Tuesday's show. But the purpose of this show is just an opportunity for us to share some thoughts about what transpired today. I agree with Dan. The fact that we surrendered in such a humiliating way is just unconscionable.
Yeah.
This is not the way we want the Chicago Bears to achieve the first pick of the draft. I want the first pick of the draft, trust me, but to win it in such a questionable way is not something I want at all.
It felt like they weren't even trying to hide the tanking today.
Yes.
Like I said, with the Nathan Peterman thing, it was playing okay.
Yes.
And you bring in this other guy who throws a pick immediately. David Montgomery, maybe in his final game, and he's getting like 4 carries.
Right.
It's just there's so many things that went wrong with it. Right. And then there was these weird plays, so they finally score, and Santos kicks an extra point, and they play bear down, and then suddenly they're going for 2. Mm-hmm. Then there's a play at the end of the half where Minnesota kicks a field goal, but there's 2 footballs on the field. Everyone leaves the field, and then the officials, I don't know how it presented on TV because we haven't seen it yet,
right.
Then they take the 3 points away.
Right.
It's just the whole day was kind of bizarre, but as irony would be, in unbelievable fashion, we're watching a game, the Texans in Soldier Field, And just a cool moment. The Texans defeat Indianapolis on a fourth down play. Then Lovey goes for fucking 2 and gets us the win. And everyone in Soldier Field in this little area is chanting, Lovey, Lovey, Lovey.
Lovey.
What
God
a
bless
moment,
Lovey.
man. And again, Lovey's probably going to get fired, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe he can come be our DC. That'd be great. Hey, I don't like Eberflus. Give him a job back. Fuck it. But
And just to add to that,
yeah,
as soon as the
please.
game was over, we come out and Dan says, I'm going to get on my phone and find out what is going on with the Texans game. And Dan, God bless him, he wants to win. He doesn't give a shit about the number one overall
But now that
draft.
it's over,
Exactly. But now that the game is over, he wants to find out, okay, was this all worth it? Or
So
at least
I-
a consolation prize.
we
right?
start listening on Sirius, and as we found out, it's behind like 5 fucking minutes.
Yes, we were getting a bad signal or whatever it was, and then some guy comes up. We hear some cheering from about 100 feet away. Some guy comes up to us and says, "Yeah, they tied the game, and now it's going into overtime." So we quickly, and I will share some of this video on Tuesday night's Bear Their Soul show. Bears fans just going hysterical at the great victory by the Texans, and we were told that Lovey was told he was going to be fired. So he said, fuck you, I'm going to go do whatever necessary to win this game. And if that story is true, Lovey Smith lives in the Hall of Fame of my heart.
And he gives us to the Bears fans.
Exactly. And it's not only that he gives that to the Bears fan, but it is the man that Lovey is for him to say, fuck you to Houston Texans. You have screwed me, and Tampa Bay Bucks screwed me, and so you're just using me for whatever reasons. I'm not going to make this a political thing, but you're using me for whatever.
As a minority candidate.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're right. So let's be honest. So you're using me, and I'm going to fuck you. If that's it, truly is the narrative, then God bless. Who is this? Foster covers. Believe none of what you hear, a half of what you see. Thank you, Foster. And I didn't know we were going to see these comments. Somebody wants to date us. It's a porn site.
That's the porn site. I think that's because of Tooch.
Yeah, Tucci's reputation brings us all these.
I got to meet Sonny today.
Yeah, Sanjan Jovanovic, is it? Jovanovic. We got to meet him today. Great guy.
Great head of hair for Sonny.
We got offered free tickets. I mean, this has been a sensational day, but we're here to complain. We're here to complain about how the Bears handled this situation today. It's not... For Bears fans like Dan and I who believe in integrity and believe in doing things the right way, the Bears should have gone out to try to win this game. Justin Fields should have played. Okay, so...
And he arguably wanted to play. That's what people were saying.
Exactly. He said he was peeved that he was told he was not going to play. So, okay,
we didn't
fine.
even see him on the sidelines.
We didn't, exactly. So, and maybe you guys did because you had the broadcast and the cameras can capture things that we couldn't see from our vantage point. But we were just upset that they put in Nathan Peterman, and as soon as the score is flashed that the Texans had taken the lead, they put in Tim Boyle, a guy who most of the players on that team do not even know who he is.
Let alone his cadence when he's...
Exactly. And that interception that he threw was a play where Velus Jones stopped because he thought it was going to be a curl route, but it was one of those pass routes where the receiver makes a decision, should I go deep or should I curl? He curled and Boyle threw it deep, and it was an easy interception. Clearly, that was on Tim Boyle, another Boyle on Tim Boyle's career. Mm-hmm. And so the point is that Dan and I are just really upset at the way the Chicago Bears went about today's game. They should have played with integrity. And we were joking. We were making jokes about, Velus Jones just scored a touchdown. So
I bet he's out for the rest of the game.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm incensed by it. And I know that you are even more incensed by it because what you told me has kind of lit my fire about all this whole thing.
It's kind of like... It's like you stole something. I mean, it's one thing to hide it and like maybe make it ambiguous, and maybe there's an argument people think you're tanking, but there's no proof of it.
Right.
But today it's out there in the open. When you kneel down, I mean, I know again you're probably not going to win at the end, but still, you're kneeling down. You can't kneel down.
That was the worst part of the entire day, the kneel down.
And if you're a Bears player that's going to be back this year, or this year being 2023,
Right.
and you went through this season, how are you ever going to listen to anything Matt Eberflus says and take it seriously? Look, listen, guys, I know we really weren't trying last year, but now the hit system matters.
Right.
So this year, you got to really hustle.
Exactly.
It's like, fuck you, coach.
Yeah.
Like, this was my chance this year. Like, for the guys like that played today that we were talking weren't really that good, like Hand. But this was still their chance.
Right.
So the coaches should have put them in a position to make plays, put them on. The one kid did make a pick.
Right.
I don't remember his name now.
Yeah, I don't. Number 27.
But but you're cheating players that this is their opportunity to put on tape great plays to get a job next year.
Yes.
Or Nathan Peterman, for example, who had a decent showing. Give him the whole game. Give him a chance to win. Maybe he gets a contract next year. If you feature David Montgomery, even if it's wheel routes and not necessarily running, maybe he gets picked up by somebody because it seems like the Bears are disinterested. Even when Herbert was hurt for those 4 games, I mean, it's not like Montgomery was getting 25 carries.
Right.
Fields always got more carries by design than David Montgomery. Right. So they're going to move on from him and give him a shot to get a deal somewhere. I mean, like they're not just screwing the Texans or whomever else. They screwed a lot of the players on their team today by not giving them a shot to take advantage of this opportunity.
That is a fantastic point. It is. The Bears showed a lack of integrity. One of the reasons I really bought into Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus is because in their early press conferences, they said things that made me really proud to be a Chicago Bears fan. But what they have shown over the last 2-3 weeks makes me embarrassed to be a Chicago Bears fan. They have not lived to their word. Now, I understand what's going on. When you trade Khalil Mack, when you trade Robert Quinn, when you trade Roquan Smith, you are spelling out Tank. But to take it to the extreme that they did today is just fucking unacceptable to me as a fan. Now, I am going to remain a Chicago Bears fan.
Of course.
Of course. You know, that's where they have us, right? It's like a drug, but it's just not right. And I'm here to fucking complain about it. I don't like this. I don't like what they did.
If I can expand on that real quickly,
Please.
what you said before, like it's like a drug. Because I was lamenting, because I mean, at some points of the season, because we've lost 13 of 14. You're like, God, I just want it to be over. Like, this is just agony, losing all these games. But again, today, even though we were pissed off that they're tanking and they're losing, and Minnesota's not even really trying either. It felt like a preseason game at times.
Yes.
But I'm looking up at the clock over my left shoulder, and like there's 6 minutes, there's 4 minutes, there's 3 minutes. I'm like, man, I don't want this to be over.
Right.
It's like I've got 9 more months before I have another game now. I'm watching the clock run out, and I'm getting melancholy.
Right.
And just thinking, this is it. You know, there's only 17 of these every year, and the fact that they just let this entire second half of the season just go like it didn't matter. I know they got their goal at the end, but did they? I mean, maybe that depends. That remains to be seen. Dan Hampton and Dan Abramovich are saying they'd be idiots for not trading out of that position.
Right.
But even if they draft a quarterback, which we can touch on that in a second too, as we have a lot of fears about that suddenly, or whomever they draft the first round, that person's got a hit now.
Right.
Especially if they don't trade down.
Big time.
Then all of this is for naught if you just threw away this season, because again, all those games you lost close at the beginning, there was an argument to be made that they could have been like 6-2 or something early on. And just the second half of the after they lost to Miami, there's just like, okay, fuck it. We're going to play for the draft pick. But if you do all that losing and you miss on the pick, I mean, then it's like a continual cycle of shit.
Yes.
But the worst thing, we were talking today, and I wish we were on video then, because this is the most poignant thought of our conversation, or fear, was that early in the season, it felt like, you know, there was some, Fields hasn't proven himself yet, right? And maybe I didn't draft this guy. And that sort of arrogance that every GM has when they inherit someone else's player.
Exactly.
But maybe we thought Fields had earned his keep, and there's sign all over the towns. But I was making a comparison. When John Elway took over as the GM in Denver, he confessed later that his number one goal in life was to find a way to dump Tim Tebow because he knew the kid couldn't play, but the fan base liked him. So I worry, because, you know, Justin played very poorly against Detroit last week, that maybe, let me rewind. allegedly Ryan Poles saw Roquan Smith playing shitty against Dallas and just kind of standing around and looking slow and looking disinterested because he was pouting because Robert Quinn got traded.
Right.
So reportedly, after that game, he said, "You know what? I don't want to deal with this guy anymore. He doesn't want to negotiate. He wants too much money.
Right.
He's half-assing. I'm trading him right now based upon that performance."
Right.
What if Ryan Poles saw him struggling in Detroit and was like, "These people are right. He can't throw the ball accurately enough on the short routes or the medium routes, the easy content, move the chains." What if Ryan Poles watched a Detroit game and said, "I'm never going to have a higher value for Justin Fields in my life. People would probably give me 2 first-round picks for him right now. Don't play him in Week 18. I don't want him to blow his knee out. I don't want him to hurt that shoulder again. I don't want his throwing shoulder." What if he just said, "I'm trading him. That's it. Do not play him, Coach Eberflus. I'm trading him in the offseason. I'm going to get 2 first-round picks for him."
Right.
And then if that happens, we have to take this jersey off. And you had the same one on earlier.
I did.
What if this is the last day we wear Fields jerseys? I mean, you're going to wear a Fields jersey if he goes to the Rams? Because they need
we saw people wearing Trubisky jerseys.
Well, that's true, but
but your point is valid.
yeah, what if like that was part of a concerted effort that he made his decision? I'm trading this guy. It seems in some regards we've talked to people today. Oh no, there's no way, but I fear it, especially with the first pick in the draft.
Right. And we talked about this yesterday on the Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls show. Eric is asking, what if we really didn't land on the moon either and the earth is really flat? No, I understand that, Eric. I understand that. But you do, Dan makes a very good point. There are a lot of general managers who feel like, I want my players. I mean, why else are Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn are no longer on this team? Maybe it's all part of the rebuilding plan, but perhaps it's not unreasonable to speculate that perhaps Justin Fields may not be on this team as well because they've got the number 1 pick. If they fall in love with one of the quarterbacks that is available, I mean, I'm starting to speculate that too. A week ago, I wasn't speculating this, but I'm starting to think that maybe that is something that we should be paying attention to.
And think about this. Matt Nagy basically whored himself into another couple of years because he kept saying, "I didn't draft Mitchell Trubisky. He's not my guy. Oh, I didn't draft Jordan Howard. He's not my guy. I need to get the running back that I need, or I want David Montgomery. Well, I didn't draft this bum Trubisky. He's the reason we lost the Saints playoff game," which was horse shit from Nagy to blame that on him. And then he got another swing with Fields. That was because his whole argument was, "That's not my quarterback." So Ryan Poles can say, "Well, that's not my quarterback. That's not who I drafted."
Right.
And want to get another quarterback. I mean, I'm not advocating this in any way.
Exactly. Neither one of us is.
But it's something that it's going to create anxiety until May.
Right. I totally agree with you. And that adds to the drama of what's going on. And again, I apologize to the people who are commenting. I can't see all the comments because this is the first time we've used our Barlow Network YouTube channel to go live. So I'm not, see, I see something, McMax says, if they draft one of those 2 rookies, I'm not watching the Bears again. And I won't go that far, but I understand that frustration. And so I want just to say to the people who are commenting, we're unable to see all of the comments, and so the ones that
Can I give you a 10-second anecdote?
Please.
Jim McMahon got traded to San Diego for a couple days. I thought, well, I guess I'm a Chargers fan now. My dad, I was only 8 years old. My dad's like, "No, man, it doesn't work that way. You got to be loyal. Loyal's important. You say you're a Bears fan, you're a Bears fan. You're not a Chargers fan.
Love it.
Don't you dare switch teams."
Yeah.
And that's my dad showing me leadership at 8, saying you got to be loyal. That matters in life.
Yes, indeed, it does.
So, yeah, there you go. Like, as much as I don't want Fields to go anywhere, like even if he's in, well, Detroit's got Goff and Rodgers, and then Minnesota's got, even if he's somebody oh no, not there.
Right.
I'm not going to switch teams.
Exactly. I think to Dan's point there. There was a great comment there that fades away, but to Dan's point, I take pride in the fact that we had a role, a very small role. I'm not saying, and maybe I'm over exaggerating when I say we had a 0.1% role in the firing of John Fox, but the Barroom Network at the time really led an effort to fire John Fox. We were on the road with Fire Fox signs. We were at home with Fire Fox signs. We dedicated shows and social media posts to Fire Fox. Songs. Thank you, Phil Toshin. He had a big role as well as Seamus Marshall. What's his name again?
Shane, not Seamus.
Sorry, Seamus.
The smartest man in the barroom.
Exactly. But we had a role, as I think all fans do. The fact that the capacity today, would you say, was about 70%?
Yeah, it seemed like everyone showed up right at the anthem because we were like, damn, it's empty. Then that national anthem ends had a guy that sounded a little bit like Jim Cornelius.
He was good.
Yeah, and then when he was done, it was looking around. I was like, shit, it's full now.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right. And so for management.
60,000 maybe?
60,000. Well, maybe 50, I would say, actually, because doesn't a place hold 60 something?
I thought it was like 65 maybe.
Okay.
Or 55,000 at least.
Yeah.
55.
Right. But whatever it was, my point is that the fans have a role in telling management we're upset. We are shareholders, not literally, not like the Packers fans are,
Or tied
where they
free,
got
by the
these
way.
bogus shareholder.
That's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, that's a Ponzi scheme, exactly. But our voices do have a role in the management of the Chicago Bears. So if we don't show up to Bears fans, if we don't buy these bullshit T-shirts and jerseys and so forth, that lets Bears fans that lets Bears management know that we are upset with the way the team is. Now, again, I am a believer in Ryan Poles and the direction that he has taken the team. I have been espousing this for years. You got to tear it down. You got to start all over. And now this is the perfect time to do it because you've got a guy who could potentially be the franchise quarterback.
Good, though.
Exactly. That's the point.
If the goal was to tear it down, you could have torn it down a different way.
Exactly. The way it was done was fucking bullshit. I don't like this.
Hey, you know what's really cool, and you pointed this out earlier. I don't know if anyone else saw this. We were at a restaurant about to eat. We were waiting in line for like 20 minutes because it was full. And they were showing clips of the Bears website on a television.
Yes.
And they were showing highlights today, not that there were very many, but Cole Kmet scored a touchdown. Great effort by Cole after the reception to fight for the touchdown. And someone on the Bears website typed in, not a person,
Yes.
the person that runs the site
Social
said
media, right.
something to the effect of, Cole hasn't given up.
Right. Komet keeps fighting or something
It
like
said
that.
he
Yeah.
hasn't quit, maybe.
He hasn't quit. That
It
was
said
the word.
Cole
Yes.
hasn't quit.
Right.
So that person's obviously cognizant of, at the very least, this rumor that everyone thinks that they've quit. He's saying, well, Cole hasn't. Look at this effort.
Right. Exactly. And I am
That's
sure.
just sort of like a little jab there at the rest
Yes.
of the team.
And again, we're at a disadvantage here because we're not seeing your comments, but I bet there's tons of Bears fans, social media, people watching this show, wherever, who feel the same way that we do. That what we saw today was just unacceptable. You don't play football that way. You just don't do it. And perhaps the NFL needs to correct certain things.
Don't do it this offseason, though.
No.
Don't take away our draft pick. Now,
Right, I was going to say, do a lottery or something like that.
But not
you're
this
right.
offseason.
You're
No,
right.
no, no.
After this year.
we've given up too much this season
Right.
and gone through too much losing to come down and have that stripped.
Mm-hmm.
But if that were to happen, they committed the crime, man, and they're like, but we
Exactly.
would suffer as a result of that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Any changes to the way number one draft picks or high draft picks are determined should happen after this draft. And I'm not saying that as a Bears fan. I'm just saying that the rules were set in sight for this 2023 draft already. But I advocate that moving forward, teams should have a lottery like in the NBA to determine who has the number one draft pick, because what we saw today is just unacceptable. This should not be tanking in any fucking sport. But in the NFL, when there's only 17 games, you need to play to win in every game. And excuse my impersonation of
Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards. It's unacceptable, particularly for us fans. I mean, we paid a lot of money for these tickets today. We endured the cold. Dan and I both wanted the first round draft pick, but more than that, we wanted a win. We wanted these players to be celebrating victory. We wanted these players to leave Hallis Hall tomorrow with a win on their chest. And like Dan perfectly said earlier today, these players are fighting for jobs, whether it's within the Bears organization or with other NFL teams. What happened today was fucking bogus. Fucking bogus. And I do not like that.
Kyler Gordon could have played. He was questionable. You have to think Gordon was held out just to try to help the fucking shit here about losing. Fields wanted to play. Again, maybe they wanted to train him. I don't know. It's conjecture, but he wanted to play. They didn't want to win today. And you know, if you're George McCaskey, I know you can't keep making moves. I get it, but his mom just turned 100.
Right.
And her whole thing, she's like, as much as we want to win a championship, she's like, dude, can we get one more before I die? And she's 100 years old. She doesn't have a lot of time left. That's just science. It's not me being crude or anything.
Right.
And having said that, how do you justify to them if you're Matt Eberflus? Like, this could be my mom's last game that she ever sees, and we see this shit when the team that you might not like the McCaskies, but that logo means something to them, and as much as it does to us. I mean, George is a fan. Again, you might think he's a bad businessman or bad owner,
Absolutely,
but he cares and he wants to win.
He does.
And if they're just draining the value of that by not even trying, I guarantee George McCaskey was unhappy today.
I'm with you 100%. Like, so for instance, you know that when he hired Ryan Post laid out the plan. We've got all this dead cap space. Let's add to the dead cap space and just rid ourselves of all of these contracts and then start over in 2023. That's fine. But you hope that Ted Phillips and George McCaskey said, how bad is it going to get? I mean, am I going to lose season ticket holders? Am I going to have more vitriol from Chicago Bears fans about how we're playing and how we're achieving this rebuild? And that's the sad part about it, because if Ryan Poles was honest, he probably would have said, yeah, it's going to get pretty ugly. And so McCaskey should have said, well, let's rebuild without it getting ugly, because these fans who have been cheated over and over again every year deserve effort. And if the players were out there giving effort, as far as we can tell, but the coaching staff and the general manager were
holding them back.
Yes.
They're holding them back. It's one thing if you really are depleted of talent, the way, that's what the one argument that's being presented to us, is they just didn't have talent. But look at all those games they were in early in the season. And then there's a shift with their coaching strategy. I mean, it's one, again, if that was a thing, they just had deficient players across the board and they couldn't get the job done and they sucked, like the defensive line, then maybe you say, well, it's too bad. That's the way it happens sometimes.
Right.
But it felt like maybe they could have done better. They could have performed better. It was the coaching staff not wanting to put a game plan together to make them play better or to accidentally win.
Right.
Like, why do you think against Buffalo that Fields had 2 possessions in the red zone and didn't attempt 1 pass in the end zone?
Right.
They didn't want to win.
Right.
They were trying to fucking lose, and they're not going to be honest about it. They'll be lying about it. So I hope somebody somewhere that's going to leave or knows they're gone will say, hey, man, this Eberflus is a fraud.
Right.
Like, he was telling us in the locker room, don't worry about it, or whatever he was saying, like, it's not that important. Somebody needs to say that we weren't trying to win, because it's painfully obvious. It's not just me making this shit up. It's transparent.
Exactly.
At this point. So how could he address a group of men?
Right.
Imagine being one of those guys just sitting in the room listening to this coach being okay with losing when your whole life from T-ball on or little whatever, midget league football, whatever, has been told like winning is all that matters. Vince Lombardi winning, Bill Parcells, you are what your record is. I mean, so it's in your DNA to win. And this guy's telling you it's okay to lose. How do you respect that guy ever again?
Right. Well, and I told you at halftime, I wonder, I hope, I said to Dan, I hope that a player raises his hand when Eberflus is saying, okay, in the second half we're going to do this. I hope a player raises his hand and says, what the fuck are you talking about? Why did you put Boyle in? Why isn't Fields playing? Because we saw him walking around at Hallis Hall. He looked ready to go. What the fuck is going on here? You're telling us to go out and win. Aren't you just lying to us? I mean, that's the impression that we got. Now, we did not, Dan and I did not listen to the post-game press conferences. We did, so there's a lot of stuff that we are unaware
I'm
of.
sure he said the same shit he always says.
I'm with you on that, which is why I feel confident here, being here and complaining about everything. I just don't like where this organization is headed. It feels like George McCaskey is so fucking desperate that he's willing to accept this underhanded way of winning. And perhaps I'm overreacting. I don't know, but I'm upset.
I don't think you are. And I honestly believe, this is an opinion, it can never be proven, as far as I know, unless somebody be a quote-unquote whistleblower from within the team. I honestly believe they put Tim Boyle in because the Texans were losing or winning.
Yeah, we saw the score change, and all of a sudden Tim Boyle is in. Who the fuck is this guy?
I think they're like, oh shit, we better put Nathan in a little bit in the second half so we can say it was a planned rotation.
Yes,
it's a planned rotation between
I didn't
the two.
think of that. Yeah,
yeah, because again. We don't want to admit, we don't want to have to look Brad Biggs in the eyes and
right.
say, oh shit, we did tank.
Right.
But when he points out, well, you put this Peterman in, it was playing all right. You put this other guy in who's been here 4 days. He throws an immediate interception. Why did you do that? And why did you bring him back on the field?
Right.
They were just killing time more with Tim Boyle, but they're like, well, we'll put Peterman in. Because now we have plausible deniability. We can say it was a planned rotation from the start when we know that's horseshit.
Exactly. Well, I got to tell you, I know that there's probably lots of comments in here telling us you guys are full of shit or blah, blah, blah. And I promise you that Dan and I will look at those comments, and on Tuesday, on the debut of the new Bear Their Souls show, we will talk about those and address those. And if for some reason we missed something or we were wrong about something, we will gladly admit we were wrong and address that. But right now, what we're sharing is our guttural feelings about what transpired today as two fans who spend a lot of money on our tickets. And we're hoping for a win.
Despite the free time.
Exactly. Our time. I mean, this guy flew in from West Virginia. I didn't pay for that. He paid for that. This guy bought paraphernalia today. This guy is a devout Bears fan. We deserve better than this. What we saw today. We deserve better.
And that's not like a Packers fan who has been winning for 38 years and all of a sudden handles one losing season. Like if Rodgers loses tonight, if they lose tonight to Detroit, they're going to be furious that they didn't make the playoffs.
Right. For the second time in 15 years.
Yeah, because they always make the playoffs and they're entitled.
Right.
And, we've stuck with this shit. They've made the playoffs, 3 times since the Super Bowl that they lost to the Colts. And that, unbelievably, look at that, is 16 years ago. Super Bowl 41, we're going to have 57 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all dying day by day. I'm not trying to be dramatic.
Right.
So the point is, whether we're 64 or in my case 42, we're putting our lives into this shit. And day by day, we're getting older. Look at Virginia. So, it's not like it's a video game and this season doesn't matter. That it's time of our lives that is taken away that you can't get back. Exactly. That we devote to this team. Right. So I can't say we're entitled to a Super Bowl because maybe
we're entitled to effort.
Maybe 85 was so good that that was once in a lifetime deal with the devil or whatever, and it's like, that's all we're going to get. No. But we're entitled to at least a better product because of all, I mean, they sell out. I know they have a smaller staff. They sell out. Right. People buy the gear. They get TV ratings every time they're on. The fan base is devoted. Now, I can't say that there aren't people that we even know people. I'm not going to name any names that we're like, are they really Bears fans? They talk about this team and this team and this team. Or I don't even know if they're really Bears. Most of us are. Right. Most of us are dedicated and equally passionate. And a lot of fan bases would love to have us as fans. I mean, in the sense that
Fucking A.
Jacksonville's in the playoffs this year, but for years they've been fucking empty down there.
Yeah.
Miami at times is empty down there.
Yes.
Because they've got good weather. You give the Rams a few bad teams, or the Chargers. SoFi Stadium is going to be empty too.
Atlanta.
Because they've got great weather and other shit to do.
Right.
And it could be surfing, whatever it is.
Right.
But the Bear fan not only goes to the game in Chicago, the Bear fan goes to Cleveland or Pittsburgh and travels. Or we're talking about going to Minnesota next year. Bear fans if they go play a game out west, there's Bear fans there.
Exactly.
Remember the Devin Hester Monday night game when Rex threw all those picks and we come back to win in 06? All you could hear was "Let's go Bears" chants, taking over that whole stadium in Arizona. Right. So most fan bases would love to have a devout, loyal team ambassadors for them. Mm-hmm. Tell me that guy doesn't look like the other Dan.
Oh, that's Steve Kornacki over on NBC talking about the playoffs. Yeah, he definitely looks.
He looks like cross between Mark Trestman and the other Dan.
That's right. That is the other Dan who is going to make his debut on the Bear Their Soul show. He is pretending to be Steve Kornacki, but that is actually Dan. How do you pronounce his last name? Dan Sorventino?
I'm not sure.
Whatever your last name is, that's you, Dan Sorventino. But
Steve Kornacki, he's free, fellas. He's single.
That's right.
He does like guys. I'm not.
Listen, you were on a fantastic rant. I didn't want to interrupt you because.
But isn't it true though?
Because I agree 110% with you. This is not what we deserve.
We didn't wear bags. How many other teams have worn bags when their team is losing 10 games in a row? The Saints, remember they were the Aints?
Yes.
Wearing bags. I mean, we didn't do that shit. We're there. Everyone's there in the cold watching that shit.
Not Chicago, right. This man comes here from West Virginia, and this morning he comes down for breakfast. My wife is serving breakfast, and he shares with us what he's going to wear. First of all, he wanted to go to the game just dressed as he is right now. And my wife is saying, "You're fucking crazy. What the fuck is wrong with you?"
But I do live in a colder climate, and it's very comparable to Chicago. So sans the lake.
Yeah, so he felt confident, but exactly, sans the lake.
Well, I was good until the fourth quarter. I admit by the fourth quarter I got cold.
We were all freezing our asses.
But it's not like we get up and do shit at halftime or not pay attention. Right. We were there as early as we could get there to watch the teams warm up. We both like that. Right. We're not out eating steak or whatever other people are doing. Fuck that. We want to watch the teams. What are they doing? Who's got exerting effort? Like we saw in Cleveland, we could tell the Browns were fired up and the Bears are just standing around not doing anything. Right. And what happened on the field that day? Right. Like today, we're watching Santos miss kick after kick. And
oh my gosh, he was awful.
It's just like, God, why is this guy our kicker still? But we like to, okay, so that's like 11 a.m. Central Time that we're there. Mm-hmm. The game starts at noon Central. Mm-hmm. So by the time I started to get cold, I've been there almost, 4 hours.
Exactly.
So I had gone to piss one time.
Right.
And the rest of it, I don't want to miss anything. Right.
Well, but let me ask you this, because I went to the area a number of times, and I saw people in that nice warm environment. We were at the 200 level, which is called the Lexus or Cadillac Club or whatever.
It's got a warm room that you can go into, essentially, and a bar, and a bathroom.
Exactly, a bar, a bathroom, and TV screens.
And Tom Thayer and help me out, what's his
Jeff Joniak.
Yeah, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer are piped in, so I was in line to piss for a couple of minutes.
Right.
But we're listening to the game. We're not missing anything. Okay, good.
Right.
Good.
But we're such diehard fans. We didn't spend our time in that fucking nice warm comfort like other fans were watching the TV.
We were out in the fucking seats.
Yeah, we were out there freezing because we're diehard fans and we deserve better.
You were 2 minutes ago before they tanked with their little kneel down. I was like, I was like, you can tell Mrs. Gundia I'm cold now. Yes. Because I was confident I wouldn't get cold, but I did in the late fourth quarter. Indeed. And you were like, you want to go up in the suite?
Right.
I was like, no.
Right.
No. I was like, for one, there's only 2 minutes left.
Yes.
But, we're here to watch the game. We can watch it on TV any other week.
Exactly.
So we stayed there in the cold.
And I think the point of this is that Chicago Bears fans are different than any other fan. I mean, every fan base has its own characteristics. But Dan and I, and I'm sure everybody else who is on live watching this feels the same way. We are such diehard fans that we will withstand whatever temperature. When Dan and I were walking to the stadium, he goes, "You know what? This has been a miserable season, but I'm gonna fucking miss this.
Absolutely.
I wish that the season would still go on." And I told him in response to his, anytime I see the Chicago Bears uniforms on the football field, I am stopping and I am watching.
Yeah.
And that's how we feel about Bears fans. But what happened today was a kick to the fucking nuts. It made us feel like we're taking advantage of you. Yeah, we want something better for you down the line, but we're going to cheat, or we're going to do this in a disingenuous way, or we're going to do this in a sinister way that you are going to be the victim of it, because you got to sit in the fucking cold and watch this despicable effort on the part of the team so that we can get a number 1 draft pick. And we've had 2 number 1 draft picks in history, and none of them are names that we can remember.
The stat you told me earlier, the guy had less than 200 yards rushing.
Right, the last number 1 draft pick of the Chicago Bears had 187 yards rushing in his entire career. He was a running back. So we don't want that. We want effort. I don't care if we have the 32nd draft pick, but as long as we're fighting and giving us our money's worth, our efforts worth, our devotion worth, to me is more than anything else.
Ironically, the last time I believe we had I'm pretty sure it was the 32nd pick. The last pick in the first round, we took Greg Olsen.
That's right.
So that's a good pick.
That's right.
And then we traded him for nothing.
That's right.
To expand on your point about, like, oh man, whenever there's a bear, like you said, whenever there's bears in uniforms and like that, you get pumped up.
Right.
I honestly feel like if I live to be an old man and I'm somewhere laying in a bed and I can't walk anymore and they got shit in my nose and and I'm on a machine or something, if they put a fucking Bears game in front of me, I'm going to be like this. I may be catatonic, unable to speak. And they're like, what the fuck's wrong with this old man? But I'm trying to tell you, I'm fucking fired up. I'm telling you, it would be like, even if I couldn't speak, I would be reacting however I could.
That's right.
Yeah, I really believe that to be true.
All right. So to conclude this show, what I'd like to get Dan's thoughts on, because he's been paying more attention to this than me during dinner tonight. He's asking questions and getting information on the playoff scenarios, and we're watching the Packers take a 9-3 lead.
How's this
over
Mason Crosby making kicks? What is he, 62?
He is 61.
Okay.
But so I want to turn over to Dan to get his thoughts about the playoff picture here.
The playoffs?
The
Don't
playoffs.
talk to me about the playoffs.
Yeah, not that it has anything to do with the Bears, but it is interesting to see what transpired today with some of the key games and stuff that we were talking, and Dan can do a much better job of summarizing some of the thoughts about.
Well, first off, let me just say this. I've asked Don Burr this, and he's never answered it in the chat room. I always say, like, well, you're a Lions fan. Who do you hate the most? Like, we hate Green Bay.
Yes.
But so I asked that to a Lions fan today and a Vikings fan. First off, the Vikings fans were polite to us all day.
Very.
They really were. And the Vikings fan we met in the bar that I asked this to, he goes, oh, Green Bay. Green Bay is who I hate the most. Like, I don't even hate the Bears or the Lions. I hate Green Bay. And I was like, same thing with us. Like, I don't hate Detroit. I don't hate Minnesota. Like, I'm not necessarily rooting for them, but I certainly don't hate them. I just hate Green Bay. But ironically, I asked the Detroit fan, who was married to a Bears fan, no less.
Right.
And he said, oh, the Bears. He said the Bears are the team he hates the most and not the Packers. And I was like, how is that possible?
I was about to steal his wife and bring her into my hotel room.
She was a good-looking lady.
She was very good looking.
Good-looking lady.
I'm just kidding. But it was disheartening to hear. I mean, because Dan said it perfectly. Detroit Lions fans and Chicago Bears fans have a sort of...
We got to be relatives somehow.
Right.
We might not be...
We've all suffered similarly.
It may be like fourth cousin, but we're kin somehow, and the agony. Yeah. Now, the Bears have gotten a lot more wins over the years and got that Super Bowl.
Yes.
And for years, just beat the dog shit out of Detroit.
Right.
But for the last 30 years, essentially, the Green Bay's been beating all of us.
Right. Detroit Lions should appreciate the suffering that we've gone through over the last...
And we definitely appreciate them.
Exactly.
And furthermore, like, say, during the Stafford years, there were times where they were beating us more often than we were beating them.
Right.
Like, during when Tressman was coach, they'd beat us like 7 straight times.
Right.
from the end of Lovey, or not the end of Lovey, but from Trustman to Fox, because Lovey's last game was a win over Detroit, and ironically, his first game was against Detroit, but it was a loss. But anyway, but yeah, Detroit. I was surprised that was his answer, but
I was shocked by it.
he
frankly.
also mentioned that he was a Pistons fan, so I guess
That's why
the
Michael
Bulls-
Jordan kicked his fucking ass.
the Bulls may have played into that, I guess. But again, if you're a Pistons fan, not to go on too much of a side note, you had beaten Jordan 3 years. I mean,
Right.
you have to know that at some point it's their turn.
Right.
I mean, unless you're Green Bay for years, it's never the Bears' turn.
Entitled town.
It's entitled town, and they never are gonna be okay with the Bears beating them again because we got a generation of people that have basically never seen the Bears beat them.
Yep. That's it. Exactly.
But you're talking postseason, so we were rooting for Detroit. We were. To beat Green Bay and knock them out, which I hope can still happen despite the 6-point deficit at this point. But we were watching the Seattle game, but some asshole kept turning the channel and putting it on a meaningless Giants game, or was it a Giants?
That was the Philadelphia Giants.
Yeah, and it was way out of hand, and this asshole kept turning it. So we missed the Seattle missed field goal at the end of regulation because we were asking the bewildered bartenders. Oh, I don't know. I don't know the remote,
Fuckers.
Yeah, but Seattle was so interesting because Washington had defeated, who the fuck they beat? Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Washington beat Dallas, so therefore Seattle couldn't make it with a tie. Had Washington lost, then Seattle could have gotten it with a tie, but Seattle's in overtime with the Rams. Dirty hit by Ramsey, although he made amends at the end of the game with Geno. But because Seattle was victorious, that eliminated Detroit, but ironically, now they have to root for Detroit after putting them out. So, and if you're Detroit, the Rams lose. That helps you, though, even though it eliminated you, but you get a better pick now because of Stafford. Now, imagine that scenario because the Bears keep losing because we'll get a better pick. That's good. Do you think the Detroit fans were like, fuck the playoffs this year. Let's get a better pick.
Exactly.
I bet they weren't. You know why? Because Detroit has had high draft picks for 30 years and hasn't done anything with them.
Right.
They got number one overall Stafford, and they had Calvin Johnson. They had some good stats, but Stafford won his Super Bowl with the Rams.
Right.
He didn't even win a playoff game with them.
I love the fact that the Chicago Bears have the number one overall draft pick, but I am by no means thinking that this is the panacea for this team. No, we could trade back and acquire tons of draft picks. The Bears have done that before.
Gone for the big completion. He's gone.
All right,
he's gone.
Let's go.
Touchdown. Detroit's a flag. Fuck, they're in Green Bay.
There's
of course,
a flag.
There's in Green Bay. There's the Green Bay flag. Hell, it's the Green Bay colors. The flag.
Exactly. So what happens? Of course, holding against the fucking Lions. So,
God almighty.
Fuck the Lions, by the way. Fuck the Packers. Fuck the Vikings. Fuck all those NFC North teams. I'm not going to identify with any one of them. If any one of them are fans on our Barroom Network channel, get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to identify with them because they fucking cheat, man. What? Let's see if there's a hold.
All right, let's see. Because there's holding on every fucking play. But that is pretty egregious.
Yeah, okay. I will.
He's holding him, yes.
I will acquiesce.
That was fucking an egregious. So he didn't hold him; he tackled them. Nonetheless,
I hate to admit it, but that was a good call. I hate to admit it.
What was weird is Dan brings with him a bunch of DVDs of games from yesteryear, the Super Bowl and so forth, and we're watching highlights from the 1984.
We watched Super Bowl, the pregame for Super Bowl 16 and 17, and the whole Super Bowl 4.
Right. I'm watching these highlights, and I go to Dan, you know what? What's going on here? I don't see any fucking offensive line holding. Like, in nowadays, every fucking highlight, you see the offensive line grabbing jerseys. It could be here, which is allowed, but a lot of times it's like this, right? In the old days, it was like that. It was like this. There was no fucking holding in any of these games that Dan shared with me yesterday. So what has happened to this fucking league? I hate, if you're going to have a rule for holding, enforce it. Fucking enforce it. I don't like watching a highlight of a game-winning play and on the angle where they're showing that NFL Films focused on the offensive line and the quarterback, and I see all this holding, and they're getting away with it. I don't like
but
that
it's the good
dishonesty.
teams that get away with it.
Right, right.
They love Rodgers, so Green Bay gets away with it. They love Mahomes, so Kansas City's going to get away with it. And maybe now Buffalo because of the safety, because we're all Buffalo Bills now.
Yes.
I'm not mocking that. I'm glad the guy's okay. I hope that he not only has a normal life again, that's most importantly, but I hope he makes a comeback to the league.
Indeed.
So, but they're going to kind of be poster boys. The NFL would like to see them beat Miami next week, I think. But
Oh yeah.
maybe if Tua plays, that's also, you could say, well, he's overcome concussions. But I still, my point being, the Bears Fields doesn't even get the calls when he's cheap shotting.
Exactly.
So
it's so frustrating.
And Green Bay gets away with holding and illegal contact and stiff arms that they get rid of the face mask
over again.
Yeah, it's just because they like them. And I'm not saying that, I got a victim complex. It's not just me. Like, every fucking team in the league that plays them feels the same way.
Right. Hey, let's face it. The NFL films creating this mythology about the Green Bay Packers, a small town that is playing against big city teams.
Because they all like
and
Lombardi.
Succeeding Lombardi. There's a certain magic still in his very name, John Facenda said. But I'm sick of it. Let's call games as they are. Let's stop.
Fuck off. Oh, he fumbled, but he got it off.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Call the game straight up.
Yeah, exactly. Call the game straight up. Let's not. I see something retro. Oh, I saw it and it disappeared on us. But fuck you, retro. I'm sure whatever you said was not just. But I hate to complain. This show. I don't know how long we've been on here. But I know we've been complaining a lot, but I think we're allowed to bitch and moan. Particularly what instigated this whole thing was the performance by the Chicago Bears, and where it was clear that they were playing for the first overall draft pick, and they should not do that. They should have been playing to win the game, because that exactly.
You play to win the
exactly.
game.
That
Thank you,
is
Herman
true.
Edwards, who was recently fired again.
Hey, Aldo, I'm at Mannheim and Grand. Well, thank you, Foster. Let's get together. But
And have a Foster's.
oh,
It's
man.
Australian for beer.
Trust me, when I was in my early 20s, my late teens, early 20s, I would go see these movie marathons at the Biograph Theater, and what would I do? I would buy 2 cans of 24-ounce Foster's Australian
That's
beer.
good beer.
Yes.
Hey, real quick, because there's no context to this other than we talked about it today. You should tell them the story about not only meeting Doug Flutie, but playing arcade games with Doug
yes.
Flutie.
Okay. Yeah. One of my favorite stories, and I've never shared it before. I was working at CBS, the WBBM-TV, the CBS owned and operated station here in Chicago, and we did something at Disney World where 25 stations from around the country were invited to perform these goofy games. In fact, the event was called the Goofy Games. We're playing like all sorts of silly games, but the point is after we were done taping for the day, all the stations, professional football players and professional athletes were just roaming around. And so I went to the arcade because I'm like 24 years old, and that's where I spent most of my life at that age. And I'm playing video games. And do you guys remember the old video game where it was X's and O's on a TV screen on a tabletop, and you had to hit this ball, in order to move the players, and you press the button in order to change the player that you're moving to? Well, I'm playing and I'm beating the shit out of a couple of guys. And all of a sudden, there's Doug Flutie, and he's looking at the game, and he's intrigued by it. And I go, "Hey, Doug, you want to play? I just won. You want to take me on?" And Doug says, "Well, I've never played before." And I go, "Don't worry." And I put the quarters in and so forth. And I'm thinking, I'm going to fucking beat Doug Flutie at this game.
Context, this is before Doug was a Bear.
That's right. It's before Doug was a Bear. So it was 1986. I want to say.
That's when he went to the Bears.
Okay, so it was immediately after the Bears Super Bowl season, so in between 85, 86.
And what the irony of that?
How about that, right? So we start playing, and the first couple of plays, I'm playing really well. He's getting used to the game, And then all of a sudden, those big fucking forearms of his, he's fucking hitting that ball and he's racing past my players and he's just beating the shit out of me.
He had his Flutie Flakes down there.
Flutie Flakes, Flutie Miracle, whatever it was. It was, I am privileged to have been able to lose at a video game to Doug Flutie. But
Detroit missed a field goal.
the fuckers. They're in they're in it too.
That's former Bear Michael Badgley.
Yeah, they're tanking too. What the fuck is going on? Everybody's tanking except.
We should have kept Badgley and gave them Santos. But then again, he missed.
You are all allowed to complain. I lost to Donald. Donald, our comments come up and they fade away so quickly we're unable to.
One more off the chart story that had nothing to do with the Bears that's interesting. If you all know who Bernie Kosar is.
Oh, yeah.
He won a national championship at the University of Miami. He took the Browns to 3 AFC championship games and has worked with the Browns since the late 90s or something as their radio guy. He does the preseason games. And they fired him today, which, again, where's Tooch when we need him?
Yeah, right.
Someone that legally bets a lot, like Mike North, or I presume Mike bets a lot because he's inspired to talk about it.
Yes,
so you got Tooch and Mike North specifically that love betting, and we're not talking a Pete Rose situation where he's like Bernie doesn't represent the Browns as their coach. Mm-hmm. So allegedly he bet on them today, bet $19,000 on them for the Browns to win, and was going to give that money to charity if the Browns did win. And they fired him on the spot and told him his services were no longer welcomed or needed. And Bernie tweeted at the bottom, he's like, I've given this team my life. My heart's broken.
That is such a sad thing. I mean, gambling is legal in most of our states. And I'm not going to make a rush. I'm not going to rush to judgment on this situation. But if it is how it appears to be, it is so sad that Bernie Kosar was fired because he's making a bet to raise money for children, for charities. And so that's wrong. So I agree with Dan. That's a story we're going to stay on top of and we'll talk about.
Imagine if that were like Tom Thayer.
Yeah.
Tom Thayer could say, I was the Super Bowl. Now, Bernie only went to the championship games, but Tom Thayer could say, I won the Super Bowl and I went to Notre Dame. I'm a Chicago guy. I watched the Bears, and I've given them my life, my post game, my post career, post playing career on the radio, and they fire me. Mm-hmm. That's how Bernie feels right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Iceberg is asking, when does our draft coverage start? Well, it's great that you asked that. Ironically, one of the few questions I can read.
That's Danny Shimon, not Dan Aguirre.
Danny Shimon, right? Neil Stopchinski and Greg Gabriel. We are going to provide extensive draft coverage. Now, I'm going to make an announcement here that I have not said publicly. Some of that draft coverage is going to be premium coverage, so there will be a fee for the coverage that is provided by Greg Gabriel and Danny Shimon, individual 15-minute draft evaluations on at least 50 players and maybe as many as 100 players. All of the details will be released this week on that, but this is going to be a unique opportunity, a unique experience for Bears fans to get draft-related information that is strictly designed for Chicago Bears fans. Yes, we will continue our draft coverage on a free basis, Draft on Tap. Greg Gabriel's GTF show, Gabriel Talks Football, that he will be talking about draft picks.
But this is inside info.
This
is stuff like Greg knows people around the league.
Exactly.
The stuff he can't necessarily disseminate out there to the world.
Exactly.
So you're getting a product you wouldn't get otherwise.
Exactly. The truth is that Danny Shimon and Greg Gabriel, they put hours and hours of work into gathering this information, into looking at tape and so forth. So I need to compensate them. And so I need your help. And hopefully you will become a subscriber to that service. And again, more information is going to be available later this week about that. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited for you guys who are want this information so badly. And this is a great year for us to do it.
And an affordable price point.
Very affordable. But also, hey, we've got the number one draft pick. And hopefully we're going to trade it down and have tons and tons of draft possibilities for us. So this is going to be a great year to, send us $5, $10 that all that's going to go into the pockets of Greg and Danny.
We were talking to I think it was the Cornelius gentleman who put forth the proposition that the Bears trade their first pick to the Raiders for the Raiders' first pick, which I believe is fifth, and Devontae Adams. Now, again, is that a trade that you would be happy to take?
No.
I would think you'd want more draft picks.
Right.
But maybe if you have Claypool and Adams together, and then maybe Darnell Mooney,
Right.
and St. Brown's coming back, and again, Harry had a great catch today. He never gets an opportunity.
I know.
Maybe he's your fifth receiver, though.
Right. What's interesting, and we're going to be doing a lot of...
But he's a free agent. I bet he walks.
Harry.
Yeah.
You know what? I think... Is he a free agent?
Pretty sure.
Okay. But nonetheless... what is interesting is that there's just so many possibilities of what can happen this offseason. One of the things that Dan and I talked about is, while I am sorry that the season is over, because again, if the Chicago Bears are wearing their uniforms and they're anywhere near a football field, I want to watch them play.
It's like mourning a death in some ways.
It really is. But I'm also very, very excited about the possibilities for this offseason, the possibilities to construct a dynasty, the possibilities of constructing a team that can win as early as 2023. I don't think that is going to happen, but we'll talk about that further down the line. But Brian Poles has so many resources in his hand now that he has the number one draft pick.
The most cap space.
Exactly. Most cap space of any NFL team. It is going to be fascinating to see what he does with all of these resources. And most of all, it's going to be fascinating to listen to my opinion on it.
Even if we're not happy with Ryan Poles this season. It's been one season.
Yes.
All this, what you just talked about, the number one draft pick and all this cap space, how would you feel if I told you all this was in the hands of Ryan Pace? You'd be like, oh, God, what's he going to do? Draft another Kevin White?
Yeah, right.
He's going to fuck this up somehow.
Exactly.
The jury's still out on Ryan Poles. He could get all this right.
Absolutely.
We talked about last night watching the Super Bowl 16 stuff. Joe Montana... granted, Joe Montana is Joe Montana, but we didn't know that yet. I mean, in terms of his playing career, he'd be great. He was great at Notre Dame, but he joins a 2-14 49ers team his rookie year. His third year, he wins the Super Bowl. So to go from 2-14 in 79, champions in 81. Now, granted, he's Joe Montana, but who's to say Justin Fields isn't Justin Fields?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
I'm with you.
Maybe, just maybe, he makes all the right moves and suddenly we can get pressure and block for Fields and have somebody catch the ball.
Indeed.
Rodgers going deep.
Rodgers is going deep, but it's incomplete, caught out of bounds.
And there's a flag, of course.
Of course.
If that's PI, I mean, that's bullshit.
It better not be PI.
It's underthrown as one of those, it's on Detroit, though. It's, God damn it, man.
Oh, my gosh. Fourth down, though. He went like this.
The officials should just wear Packers jerseys. I mean, for real.
Well, and they should suck cheese dick.
They're like fawning children, like, Aaron's a dreamy. He's so fucking hard. If he gets sacked, we make new rules to protect him. You're putting your body weight on him. That's as a defensive player, I'm like, isn't that my job? Is to put my weight on him and sack him? No, Anthony Barr, you were mean about it.
Fourth down and one. Let's see if they convert this. Is 72% runs and anyways, fuck the Packers.
Next gen.
But what I want to say is this: as we conclude this episode of Dan and Aldo special, whatever the fuck you want to call it,
they got it.
Yeah, they got the first down. Yesterday, Dan and I did a show, and it was our last Bear Their Soul show, and it was impromptu.
Ashley, give me some pussy.
That is the Dan and Aldo Bear Their Soul show. It was impromptu. We didn't prepare anything. In fact, we were patting ourselves on the shoulder, saying, we did a really nice job, given that we didn't prepare anything. But now that I think back, one of the things that I regret is not expressing how much I have really enjoyed working with you, my friend, Dan Aguirre, on our show.
Well, it's not over yet.
It's not over. It's not at all over, but I want to truly express how much I love working with this guy. This guy is a unique talent. I mean, a lot of people can do what I do, but not very many people can do what he does. His recall of Chicago Bears history, the way he shares it so passionately, the way he shares it with such professionalism as a professional broadcaster, it is highly unique. You look at the Chicago radio TV broadcast station. There's nobody like this guy. There's anybody like this guy, and I am so fucking lucky. I'm lucky to work with Mike North, Greg Gabriel, John Buffone, Danny Shimon, so many other people in the Barroom Network. But this guy holds a special place in my heart because we've become not only great broadcasters together. He's helped me become better, and I hope I've helped him. But also, we have become great fucking friends. And I love you, brother.
Absolutely.
And I wish I would have said it yesterday, but
I
I'm
love
glad
you too,
we had
man.
the opportunity to do that. Now let's call this broadcast over and let's get to bed and get to business.
Well, that's right. I want to watch this game. Even if there's a woman here, I want to. I hope Green Bay gets eliminated, but I fear that won't happen.
No.
But yeah, it's been a fun 2.5, 3 year run on this. Again, it's not over, and hopefully Nomad and the other Dan are going to just take it to the next level.
Exactly.
But yeah, it is a unique kind of it's sort of an end though to that current format.
Indeed.
And like you said, we'll have shows like this where we're unexpectedly coming on and stuff, and just I think that's the strength. This is my opinion, and if I'm I said this to you yesterday. I had a boss once, though, my first radio boss, who really was good to me, but he hated me ad-libbing. He said, well, you sound like you're just coming up with shit off the top of your head. I want you to be more structured and more concise. And to me, that is my strength on radio at home, on FM, or just here, is that I could be over here fucking with my phone. You're like, Dan, I got a shit or whatever. Something happened. Your wife's calling.
Yeah.
Just what do I talk about? I'll just talk. Like, I don't have to have a script. I don't have to have talking points. I can just go. I can go for hours.
Which is part of the reason he gets so much pussy. I mean, it really is. He is a great communicator, and women just fucking. I mean, every woman that I've talked to that has had a relationship with you, it's like they have Lake Michigan in between their legs.
And it's all, again, I'm not Brad Pitt, I'm not some Mac, I'm not Zac Efron, but in my life, the way I talk panties off of women is because I talk to them, I listen to them, I can relate to them, I can be empathetic, and they know I'm paying attention.
Right.
So that's been how I've gotten laid. I don't want to say so much in comparison to anybody else, but for me, I've outkicked my coverage because I make them feel important, and it's not disingenuous, but I can talk for hours. Like, a lot of guys can't express their emotions, and make the women feel like idiots if they're being emotional.
Right.
And I feel like I can make them feel better when they're, with the exception of one last couple.
Different story.
Make things worse, regardless. Even though I offer water, for fuck's sake. But yeah, okay. But that's my strength here. Is that, like, yesterday we did the show. Was my point. The reason I'm tugging on my own dick here was that we sat down, did 2+ hours, no script. We didn't have
nothing.
We were like, we're just gonna talk.
Right.
And we could have probably done 3 more hours and had people interested.
Right.
And that's not to brag, but we could have interacted with the people that were in the chat room and made it seem important because it was important.
Right.
And just talk. So I hope that is at least a semblance of what we can maintain, because some people, and I'm not saying this toward our guys, because we haven't really worked with Nomad, and it's not a shot at them at all.
Right.
But some people need shit spelled out word by word by word by word.
Scripted.
Yeah. Like you. No, it wasn't you. Fuck, I said you told me this. It's Keith Olbermann on his podcast.
Right.
He gave an example of this story. This news anchor in California was on for like 40 years in Southern California, and he had this catchphrase that was like, from this to that to this to that, I'm whatever, and this is the whatever news. He had this catchphrase, and one night he didn't start out with it, and the bosses were shocked. He'd been doing this, and it had been on billboards. It was marketed. He had no idea. He didn't say it because he said the guy was like, if you put it on the teleprompter, I will say it. But he has no idea what he's saying. He's reading.
Oh, I see.
And then he gave another example. One night they switched copies. And the guy yelled, the PA yelled that they were switching headline stories. because something else worse had happened.
Yeah.
And the guy said his name twice,
Oh my
and
God.
said the station twice, and said his slogan twice, and had no idea. Just kept going.
Yeah.
He couldn't do the show, even though he was a legend out there and drove a Bentley. So it's like he made a fucking fortune, but as Olbermann said, he couldn't even think. He was great at reading, and that's what got him millions of dollars.
Indeed.
But he had to have it on the teleprompter.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't there, it wasn't being said.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know what he said, ever. He just fucking read what was on the prompter. It could have been like,
Exactly.
and today somebody sucked somebody's dick.
Right.
And he just would keep going.
Yeah. That is amazing. Amazing story. And one of the reasons, again, why I'm so proud to work with all of the members here at the Barroom Network is that we're doing this out of passion. We talk about stuff that we love, and we do it, we try to gather as much information as possible. And I feel a little guilty that Dan and I did this special episode without kind of checking the news and what was talked about in the post-game conference, but we had this anger.
Well, we were talking all this shit in the bar, and we were like, man, we should put this on. We should be on the fucking air right now.
Exactly. We had this anger and this passion to express what we were disappointed about. And again, we will go back and thank you, Saint Omni. We will go back and take a look at everything that has been said in the chat, and we will address some of those things on Tuesday if you had a problem with anything that we shared today because of some misinformation or ignorance on our part. We owe you that, but I'm very happy to be a Bears fan despite what happened today, and I'm very happy to share information about the Chicago Bears with all of you. And that's it. Dan, any final words?
No, well, yeah, I'll give some final words. I was going to say I agree with what you were saying, and let me give praise because I was giving my own self a pat on the back. Someone like Buffon, John could definitely go without a script, too,
Indeed,
and give you fucking ferocity with what he's saying. Hit you right in the balls with it, and that's not to say we're going to see that from Nomad and them too. And even if we don't, different styles don't necessarily mean clashes.
Right.
It doesn't make my style better than anybody else.
Right.
I just feel like that's my strength. Now, again, the other Dan and Nomad. And of course, we've worked for a while with John, too. Let's not minimize Tooch at all, because he's a vital part of our broadcast.
Indeed.
So, but I'm just saying, as we look upon the show on Tuesday, I think that's one of the things we worry about, like, because we've got great chemistry. I mean, I feel like that's a fact. And if that makes me arrogant, then so be it. And I like Nomad and I like Dan, and I think they're going to mesh with this, but you got to fear about that initially. Like, well, we haven't. This is our real first show together coming up. We did one 2 weeks ago. You were only there a few minutes because your wedding anniversary, but on the precipice of the new gig, it's something you have to be concerned about. But we're going to have meetings. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be better. Even if this show is a train wreck, the next one's going to be a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And not to say it's going to be a train wreck. We might come in and hit a fucking 5-star home run on Tuesday, and that's the goal.
Indeed.
But when you get different people, everyone has a different style. You got utility hitters, you got cleanup hitters, you got leadoff hitters. And we got to figure out how to make our lineup and how to make it work.
Right. Every show that makes changes, or every new show, which is indeed part of what we're doing here, is going to learn how to make it work better. I got a good feeling that our debut show on Tuesday is going to be a home run, and that what follows after that are going to be grand slams.
And you know why? You know why that is, if that happens?
Because of you.
No. The other Dan loves the Bears as much as we do.
Indeed.
And Nomad loves the Bears
Indeed.
as much as we do.
And Tooch loves to just jerk off and be in gay porn.
Tooch just loves to have sex with men. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Just kidding.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, but if you combine, that's your first start.
Indeed.
Because everything that we're going to be saying is from the heart. And you know what it's like when somebody, you can tell when their passion's not really there.
Yeah.
If they're just going through the motions, like the Bears today, you can tell. Like if someone gets on the air and they're just really disinterested, not paying attention, you're going to be able to, and that'll piss you off. Right. I mean, if someone comes completely nonchalant, like they don't give a fuck about your platform,
Right.
or the show, then it'd be just like the Bears today, and again, that would piss you off. So we've got guys that we believe aren't those people.
Right. Indeed.
Because why else would we have them?
Exactly. I am very, very proud to be the president of the Barroom Network, and all the people that we bring in here is just sensational. And I appreciate even more the barflies who watch us and the comment on us. And we are always paying attention to what you say.
We should shout out a couple guys real quick. Not
Yes,
to steal.
go
I don't
for it,
want
brother.
to steal Phil's gimmick when he was here.
No.
I want to shout out Phil. I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Phil and Shane is part of the reason I got here, along with you.
Indeed.
In that episode, Rio had Akeem Hicks and Kyle Long on. And I was going through really bad times in my life, and they were just as a part of that to get me here. And I'm glad I'm here.
Indeed.
We had the guy that we met today, Cornelius. Cornelius says he's going to listen to us now or watch us now, and he was a big Bears fan. Who else did we meet that we were supposed to?
Sanjan, who is...
Oh, yeah, we literally met him today,
Right.
finally, Sonny. I took a picture with him. It was a cool moment to meet him. I tweeted it.
We got a mention. We got contacted by
The guy,
Ron,
the tickets.
Ron, who told us he's got some tickets for us. And Ron, if I'm fucking up your name, I'm not even going to attempt to say your name, but you offered us tickets, Dan and I tickets for an upcoming game, and so thank you.
And maybe
very
if
fucking
that is a valid offer, a genuine offer, because he could change his mind between now and then and say, I don't like this show anymore, or I've got family, I'm going to sell them or give them away.
Yes.
So assuming he could change his mind,
Of course.
and that wouldn't be wrong of him.
No.
But if he does, maybe we could turn that into the homecoming weekend, whatever game that ends
Exactly,
up being,
yeah.
to where everybody comes in again. Hopefully, just like this season, we do that next year.
Right. So trust me.
Heidi's supposed to come next
Heidi
year.
Zimmerman.
Chris Watts.
It's Chris Watts is coming next season. So we're
Lots of shout-outs.
for 2023. We are planning a lot of cool things in terms of this Bears families to get together, root for games, but also share some beers and share some stories, share some hugs, because that's part of what this. The beauty of the Barroom Network is that we're creating relationships, and that is
Jay
probably the
Bonds.
most proud thing that we've done.
Jay Bond, yeah, I agree. Jay Bonds messaged me, I think Friday, and said like, "Hey, what time you all doing the show? I can't wait to watch on Saturday." And at the time, we didn't even know if anyone was going to watch it live. It would be on demand or something like it's Saturday night, And Jay was like, "I can't wait to see your show." So I mean, I want to shout him out too.
Right. Great stuff from everyone, and Dan and I truly express our gratitude.
Buy Heidi's feet pics.
Yes. By the way, that is another important thing. Heidi Zimmerman, who is one of the co-hosts of the Bears Girls podcast, which is in Spanish, but you should tune into it anyway, because 3 sexy women talking about the Bears in Spanish is something to masturbate to.
I would let Heidi pee on me for sure.
But she started to send us pictures so that she can raise money, Heidi, for her trip to Chicago to see a Bears game. And so we are going to exploit that for all it's worth and try to get her some money.
There's got to be somebody out there
Right.
that'll want to beat off to her feet.
Well, I am tonight.
Well, me too. But yeah, thankfully she gave me a sample product.
So
And now we're the drug dealers who have to
Indeed.
sell the rest of the
Right.
crack.
So any women out
That's
there
an exact-
wanting to
that's that
send
real.
us pictures of their feet or any other part of their body, we will figure out a way to exploit that and get you some money for Bears tickets.
Yeah, Heidi says she wants to stay for like at least 10 days whenever she
Oh!
comes in. So she's got money she's already saved. She's like, I don't want to just come back like I am this weekend, coming
Right,
in
right.
Saturday, flying on Monday.
Which makes
She-
sense.
She wants to stay and have a really, really Chicago time. And
Nice.
I told her, I said, when the schedule comes out, and this is to anybody that wants to participate.
Absolutely.
The schedule comes out, let's say May, late April, and we'll figure out what games we're targeting. And maybe we could all coordinate and go to the same game, even if we can't sit with each other. You can't buy 20 tickets in one row.
Right.
But we could at least work it out so we're going to the same game or the same city, the same time, and have dinner and meet or go to the bar or whatever. It's something fun to do. And Heidi's going to try to do that with us. And
Right.
maybe Sanjan again next year. I think you said that too. And
Great guy, indeed.
maybe get Jay Bonds to his first game.
And by the way, I caught out of the corner of my eye that Retro said that he's not in favor of this change, and then I lost the rest of this message. which is unfortunate that Retro would write that because Dan and I were considering inviting you, Retro, to be a part of the show, but fuck you now. So anyway.
But your unhealthy obsession with the Three Stooges is what lost you again. I'm kidding.
That was the number one reason.
I'm kidding.
All this retro shit is like, it's old, man. All right, so I think anything else you want to share? Oh, no.
That
what happened?
snap.
What? Oh, my gosh. What the fuck was
Please
that?
tell me there's a flag that's going to give them a... There's a flag. Oh, it's on Green Bay. Good.
Holding on Green Bay so they get a chance to kick the field goal.
I thought, it's a personal foul.
Personal foul on Russell.
That should give him 15 more yards, right?
I think he was caught sucking somebody's dick on the sideline.
But that's a 15-yarder if it's a personal foul, correct?
Yeah. People are going to say, well, you guys with the homophobic jokes. These are not homophobic jokes. We love homosexuality. Look at Douglas. What is he doing? What the fuck is he doing?
We said that at the same time.
Exactly. Of course.
What is he doing?
Oh, and then he hit the guy in the face. The camera cut out. Opposite angle. There's Rasheed Douglas. He's picking up, like, he thinks he's an official. Skipper pushes him. Oh, come on, guys. What's going on?
We can't show Green Bay doing something egregious.
Here it is.
He made it.
All right. So
halftime.
halftime.
9-6 at the half.
All right. I'm going to sign off now because Dan and I got business to do on that bet.
Oh, God. Don't make people think that now.
But again, we appreciate everybody tuning in.
My lips are too chapped right now.
Thank you, goodness. And thanks for putting up with our tomfoolery, but also listening to our really serious allegations of. Well, it wasn't allegations. It's basically what we saw, right?
We reacted to the stimuli that was put in front of us.
Right. And I know
everyone's free to disagree with that or agree with our opinions. It's not a fact.
Right.
And it doesn't make our opinion better than anyone else's.
Right.
So that's the one thing we can say. I'd like to think that we don't do. We don't denigrate people that disagree with us.
Absolutely not. So, for Dan and Aldo, we will see you tomorrow. Greg and I will be doing a show tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure Bears Country Podcast. I think they're doing their finale on the Barroom Network show tomorrow night. And then the debut of the new Bear Their Souls show with the other Dan, Nomad, Johnny Santucci, Dan Aguirre, and me. So we'll see you then.
And you might be asking, who the fuck is Nomad and where's he from? And
I don't know who the fuck he is.
Yeah,
he's just funny and smart.
And
so I like him.
Dan, why does he keep going so far south? He goes from Illinois to Georgia to Florida and maybe even Cuba. What's he doing?
What the fuck is he doing in Cuba? Is he an American citizen?
Is he a fucking communist?
We'll find that all out on Tuesday. So take care, everybody. Hope you're safe. Hope you're good. Hope you're happy and well hydrated. I say that because I need some water right now.
Me too. Wash your ass too.
Yes.
You gotta have a clean ass.
By the way, do you have a bidet in your hotel?
You have a bidet?
Yeah.
Well, no, I do not have a bidet.
No, you're my bidet.
Oh God.
Goodbye, everybody.
I've never used a bidet.